Start recording. All right, now we're going. You know what? Let me make sure that this is recording to the right place real quick.
This doesn't have a red light that comes on to show you that it's
Yes.
recording?
I have this right there. It's definitely recording. If that is highlighted, we are good to go. So it's about as close to a red light as we're going to get.
Okay.
And so while we're here, we might have some kids walk through. That's okay.
Okay. Yeah, they walked through just before I got here. They all
I'm
walked
sure
through
they did. Did they walk that way or that way?
that way.
Okay, so they'll be walking back this way. We'll just have to run back a question. But so let's just start out with a really easy one. Why is generosity important to you?
Well, when I was thinking about all of this, I was thinking, well, generosity doesn't necessarily mean monetary. It means giving of your time and your service. And so I think that's important for the church. We have to pay for the lights, we have to pay salaries, but at the same time, we need people in mission in the church and outside of the church.
Hmm.
So that's generosity is important, whether you give it through your money or, some people would rather give money and not have to participate in activities. Other people would rather participate in activities and not, give so much in money to the church.
Hmm.
So generosity is important, either aspect that you look at it.
Yeah. What's sort of been your experience with that term generosity? Because a lot of times we have a stewardship campaign. This year we're talking about generosity um, explicitly. Um, just using this word generosity intentionally. What is your experience with this particular term, I guess?
Well, I guess, like you're saying, it hasn't been used much in the church as far as generosity. Again, it's are you dealing with services and you're giving of your time? I sing in the choir. I volunteer. Now that I'm on the community engagement team, I see a lot more that our church is doing outside the church rather than things that we just do inside the church, involving more of the community. And so generosity is just important and just your way of giving to the church.
So let's see. How have you been offered generosity in your life? How has anybody reached out to you and given you generosity?
As I
What
was
do you think generosity is? I guess let's start with that question. What is generosity to you?
See, I probably should have looked up Webster's definition of generosity, but I didn't do
I
that.
want Barbara's definition of
Okay, well, my
generosity.
is just giving above and beyond what you would normally do. To be generous means to go above. Everybody helps everybody, but to be really generous, you go above what you would normally do. That's my definition of generous. I can't think of any specific episodes of where somebody's been extremely generous to me. I've had lots of people to help me, but extremely generous, I can't think of anything, but I'm sure there has been. But just in normal everyday life, people are there when you need them.
Hmm. When have you seen the church be generous?
Well, through supporting our missions groups, doing um, the food distribution, which I think just happened this past Saturday, doing the shoe boxes at Christmas time, during the ministry of the Living Christmas Tree,
Hmm.
and doing the Thanksgiving luncheons or whatever with the community engagement team. Like I said, going on mission trips,
Hmm.
whether it's stateside, locally, or overseas.
Have
Just,
you had a chance to see how sort of the generosity affects those who are being cared for?
I
And what is
haven't,
that like?
um, I guess just through word of mouth, I haven't physically seen it because I don't help at the food distribution, but I would feel that it has a strong impact on those people, or these missions wouldn't still be part of our church. If it didn't have an impact, I don't think that we would still be doing these and
Mm-hmm.
adding on others to help people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you were at like the smoke detectors a few weeks ago,
Hmm.
and you helped put smoke detectors in. Um, And I think we were in the same group, so I know that you saw some of the people who were impacted anyway,
Yes.
and got to talk with them. What was that like?
Well, I think they were just very thankful that we were able to do that. There were some people I'm sure were apprehensive about us wanting to come into their homes, not knowing us, and us not knowing them. But it's just a good feeling when you can be out in the community helping.
Hmm. One of my favorite things was we went to one person's house and they said, "No, I'm good, but you need to go over to that house over there
Yes.
and see her," which was fascinating.
And it
Um,
gives you a sense of neighborhoods,
hmm.
the feeling of neighbors helping neighbors too.
Hmm.
Which I'm such a town person. I live living right in town. Whether you're close friends with your neighbors, you just know they're there when
Hmm.
you need them.
What ways do you try to show those who come after you how to be generous?
Um, just by doing, by doing.
I'm thinking, let's think specifically in your role, not here in the church, but in your life as a teacher. How did you teach children to be generous when you were at work?
Just by helping their friends. Um, and if you have something you can share, just just being kind
Hmm.
and going, that extra step. And sometimes they would just, do it automatically. And it's like, wow, maybe they are, really comprehending these to just be
Hmm.
helping your friends, whether you're giving them a pencil, you're letting them, borrow a coat, go in line in front or in back of you. Just very, very simple things. And that's where it has to start. When you're young, being brought up. And I guess I was brought up that way.
Mm.
Just always being caring and helping people.
Yeah, no, that's a really good answer, um, and it does start when we're young. So, how do you think that as God's people we can talk about generosity with our younger people?
I guess just showing them how our lives have been blessed. And there's always a way to help. Again, we don't have to have money. Well, I don't have money, I can't do that. Yes, you can. You can do it by helping somebody.
Mm.
And again, just bringing food to the food distribution, helping at the food distribution, making the shoe boxes, just giving something to somebody, giving the
Hmm.
Beanie Babies when they were going, on the mission trips. Just small little things. It doesn't have to be something big and grand. It can be the smallest little thing
Hmm.
to help somebody.
How have you been a recipient of God's extravagant generosity?
I guess just by having a good life. Again, I don't have anything extravagant, but just I want to help people,
Hmm.
and I guess in turn, people there are there to help me. I
Hmm.
don't can't think of anything. And I don't know if you've heard this movie called Christmas Jars. It's coming out,
Mm.
where you put it, you have a jar and you fill it with the money, and then in the dark of night you go and set it on somebody's porch, and maybe they couldn't pay their bills, and now they've got this money to pay their bills, buy their Christmas presents, and so the movie's coming out on November 4th. So I'm really excited to see
That
that
sounds
put
like a
into
really
action.
neat
It
idea.
is.
Yeah. I also think of the whole thing where God comes and dies for us.
Yes.
That seems like a pretty generous
Hmm.
act.
Yeah,
So.
that's what I said. Think too. God gave His life for me. I can do the smallest of little things to help others.
Hmm. Hmm. How does your relationship with God affect how you earn and save money? Not necessarily how you give money, but how you earn and save money.
Well, I guess I've been fortunate that I haven't ever been in need of physical things or money or friends. And I guess just by having God there, and He knows that we need to be thrifty with our money. And I guess that's just part of it.
Hmm. See, we're flying on week number 2. You're doing great, really. Um, what motivates you to support our ministries here at our church?
Well, I guess I just like to help and to give. And I enjoy being the fellowship of being in groups and helping. I'm in the choir, the Living Christmas Tree. I go to Sunday school. Um, and just any way that I can help by being a community engagement team. I was active when the United Methodist Women were still part of this church. And I just like to help people. I guess that's just, I was in Girl Scouts, so I just always, that my nature just to just always be willing to help.
Hmm. I didn't like that question. We're going to skip that question. Um, where in the world besides here in the church, is there evidence of the ministry from Warrenton UMC?
Well, again, through helping with the community engagement team, we've did, the community slide, helping with the Easter eggs. We just did the smoke alarms, the Thanksgiving lunches. Then also they've done, mission trips overseas, helped to build schools, build churches, not physically dig the wells, but to support, the wells that were being dug. I know they've helped locally in our community. They've helped in Petersburg, which is still in Virginia. So there's just always ways of helping.
What do you think the Bible says about how we should use our money?
It says that we should be wise with our money. It says that don't be foolish. It said be good stewards of our money. Be good shepherds of the people. And if you're good shepherds of the people, you're going to be helping them. Again, it doesn't always involve money, physical dollars and coins. It's just your time and your service.
How do you think being generous helps to shape you into the person that God thinks you should be?
They're again generous. That's the word that's hard to really come up with a strong definition of. But by helping, I do support the church with my finances, but I also support it with my time. And as we do our membership vows, I guess you should say, our time, our talents, our gifts, our service, and our witness. So whether you don't have money to give, help wherever you can. And a lot of times I'll be downstairs at discipleship hour, and I said, how can I help? I go someplace, another group in the church, how can I help? I don't, just stand around saying, well, it's me. And again, I'm one that if there's a need, I will volunteer. It's not a matter of, well, I didn't help because nobody called and asked me to help. And a lot of people feel that way. They say, can you help? But then they don't say anything else. I'm expecting them to call me and say, can you help? Well, just volunteer. If they say we need volunteers, volunteer. Don't wait for that call to come.
So maybe we're hearing that a stature of generosity calls for you to seek where you can be
Yes.
useful and helpful. Do you remember who taught you how to be generous?
Well, I guess it started with my parents. They always just said, if you don't have the money, don't buy it. I do use a credit card for the convenience of it, but I don't spend extravagantly. I have what I need, a lot of what I want also, but I guess it probably started through my parents. They never went into debt, except when they bought their house, which, is of course is going to, but my mom just said if we didn't have the money, we weren't going to buy it. If we couldn't pay cash, we weren't going to buy it. So I guess it was probably through my parents.
Can you remember a specific time where that sort of clicked for you?
Nope, I guess it was just always part of my upbringing. Then when I went to college, I, had loans, of course, paid those back. So it goes back in the olden days. College wasn't near as expensive as it is now. And I worked to help to pay that. And so I've been pretty independent.
How much planning and praying do you put into your decisions about giving?
Probably not a lot. I just know it's just something that I need to do. And, and each year, of course, I give more because I know everything you do in life gets more expensive as the years go on. And time. Now that I've just recently retired, I have more time, and I have, been volunteering more. So.
If somebody came up to you and said, Barbara, I think I want to grow in how I give, what do you think are some good steps to do that?
Well, I guess the first thing would be to pray and to look at your finances and see what you have. See, maybe there would be a certain area that you would want to give to that. Say, I'm more interested in missions, so maybe I'll study what the mission focuses of this church, give to that group. Maybe I'm more interested in helping in the community. I'll see what the main focus of the church is in that area, give towards that. Maybe I'll give more to the food distribution. So I guess you have to find a focus of where you want your money to go, or is it just going to the general budget?
And all of that's important.
Yes. And I know that we have, beyond our local church, we have the conference apportionments to pay. So again, I don't think a lot of people know, and I know we've had studies on this before, when you give your money on Sunday morning, does that pay for salary and electricity? No, it's much farther than staying in the local church. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, who come, just church on Sunday and leave. They don't understand where all those dollars go besides the local salaries, electricity, the local things that we need. Postage goes way beyond that. But I've been in the church long enough, been on the administrative council, so I know, about the apportionments. Been in the Methodist Church a long time.
So what do you think for a lot of people might be some obstacles to being able to give as much as we'd like to give?
Well, everybody has budgets for their families, and depends on how much they want to spend for themselves. Like, it'd be that. I think you have to pay your household expenses first, and depends on how extravagant you are or how conservative you are, how much you would have left over to the church. But again, I don't tithe. However, I do give. Tithing could be more than just your physical money that you give to the church. This is my opinion. More than the physical money you give to the church. How much time do I give also? So I know we have to pay the bills, but at the same time, we have to give of our service. And so that's part of what I consider part of my tithing. Giving and service added together.
Can you remember a time when you ever made a commitment to grow in generosity, whether it was through time or whether it was through financial giving?
I don't think there was any particular time. I guess it's just been an ongoing. And again, now that I'm retired, I feel that I do have more time to give. Finances may be the same, but more time to give.
I always like to catch people as soon as they retire because I know that they'll get caught up somewhere.
Yes.
And if it's not in the church, then I lose.
And now that, when the weather is nice, I love being outside, but now that the weather's getting cooler and more rainy or whatever, I'll have to find more inside activities to do. So, I could come over and fold bulletins on Thursday mornings.
Thankfully, we have a special machine that
Oh,
does
do you
that
really?
now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we got a fancy bulletin folding machine
Oh.
that goes whoosh, 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 really fast.
Oh,
I'll hear it going off in my office, and I'll say, well, I guess that's the bulletins. It takes like 3 minutes to fold all the bulletins for
oh
the
my
week.
goodness, wow.
It's awesome.
And see, that's another behind the scenes thing. I always just thought there was, a group of people just in there folding.
There was.
Well, that's what I thought because I'd been by here before in mornings.
There was. Well, we still have people who stuff stuff and put things away. I think Linda Stauffer's going to be here at 2 today to do some sort of stuffing of the estimated giving cards and
Okay.
stuff like that to get ready for the generosity campaign. And so we still have stuff like that goes on every week. And
I
we
know
still
that
have people who
Alice.
put the connect cards into the bulletins every week before church. And so we still have that sort of stuff, but the
And-
folding, we gotten past that piece.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. How does your belief about who God is and what God does shape how you give?
Well, God has always been part of my life. From, going to Sunday school as a little kid. A small child. I was never a kid, a small child. And I guess just his love of me. And just wants me to help. I don't know. I just have always given because it's just what you do when you go to church. You give to help to support the church and its missions. And I guess I've just always given. And when the cards come out, I pray about it and say, how much more should I give? I know there's like a step giving from 1 year to the next year. And I look at that and think, okay, will that fit into my budget of how much should my gift increase every year?
And I know it's something that people who have just retired about need to pray about a lot.
Yes.
So that
Not-
might be a time where you need to be praying about how much you're giving and step out in faith for a lot of people. It's difficult.
And when those telemarketers call, you say, I'm on a fixed income now. So I can't give you any money this year.
Isn't it great that it's fixed, though, and not broken?
Yes, that's true. Knowing that I worked all those years and I saved my, and I was always good about, of course, the Virginia retirement system saved it for me. But I'm fortunate that I do have an income, that I don't have to go out and work.
Hmm. How do you think practicing generosity can counteract greed for a lot of people?
Again, I've never sat back and said, oh, woe is me, I don't have money, somebody's going to give it to me. And I think some people do that. They spend all, oh, well, I don't have to work, I can spend all that I want and somebody's going to help me out. Well, that doesn't always happen. I mean, we read about it happening and I'm sure it does happen, but we can't think about that. We can't just give all of our, spend all of our money and expect to still have some left over.
Hmm. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, it would be. Nobody would work if that was the case.
How do you think living generously helps us see the world through God's eyes?
Well, God wants us to help everyone. And if we give generously, through generosity, I guess generously and generosity maybe are kind of synonyms, we can help others and then God will be pleased with us. We do everything to please God. We don't want to say, oh, look, God, look what I've done today. Give me a pat on the back. We don't want to go to that extreme. But we do want God to be pleased with us through our giving and not just, again, for a pat on the back. That's what a lot of people want. Oh, yeah, I gave a lot of money to the church. I'm going to have my name on the wall of givers. That's not what it's all about. It's not what it's all about.
I think it's also exciting for us when we're able to say, oh, look what God's been able to do through me.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily look at all I've done, but
Yes.
look how much God's been able to get done through the work that I've been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really exciting thing to say.
And again, I'm in the living Christmas tree, and it's just a blessing. That's, a gift that I can give without paying, except for my time, which is valuable. But it's such a blessing. And you haven't experienced that through our church. You might have experienced it at other churches, but you haven't experienced that through our church to see the lives touched. So it's great.
Do you think it's true that the more you give, the more free you feel to give?
Yes, if you have the finances. Once you give and then you see a need, you can give again. I give my weekly, well, I pay it monthly, but then just recently, through the community engagement team, it's just opened my eyes to so much that's going on, how we're helping our community. We just did the Spirit Works, that's an extra donation. People helping people, an extra donation. So once you give, then if you have the finances, you can give to the other groups rather than just, well, I gave my money for the week. That's all I can give. But I guess I'm fortunate that I do have some extra saved aside. So when another need like that comes along, because I know that the money that I give goes to the church apportionments, but I don't know that it goes out into the community, if a percentage of it goes to those community groups. So then I'm able to give. I could give more every Sunday. However, then if another offering opportunity came, it's like, I've already given all that I can. But I give what I can to the church, and then the people helping people, the Spirit Works, I can, make an extra donation to those groups also.
Yeah, so it's really fascinating how that sort of happens. Even so, my wife and I, we do tithe, and it's funny how sometimes at the very beginning when you start tithing, you say, well, I gave my whole 10%, and now I can feel good. And then you see a need and you say, but I already gave. And eventually, after you start forgetting about what sort of a sacrifice it is, because it doesn't feel like a sacrifice once you get used to that once you get used to generosity, it doesn't feel as much like a sacrifice anymore. You say, oh, I can probably give to that, and I can give to that. And then by the end of the year, you're just blown away by how much stuff you've been able to be a part of through generosity. I think generosity helps us to be a part of a lot of things, which is
Yes.
exciting.
Well, there again, in lieu of tithing, I could probably tithe, like you say, tithe and do all the extras. But I thought between the money that I give to the church, the money that I give to the extra groups, even to the telemarketers that I feel are a worthwhile cause, and through my service, if I added all that up, it would probably equal to tithing. That's my personal opinion on all of that.
Yeah, and I don't look down on people one way or another.
Hmm.
Actually, if we're going to be really Methodist about it, John Wesley said, if you have enough money for clothes, food, and shelter, you should give the rest of it away.
Hmm.
And that's way more than 10% on me.
Oh, yes, yes.
I'd have to throw away Hulu and Netflix
Yeah.
and no more no more indulgences.
And we would have to walk everywhere because we wouldn't have a car. We wouldn't have.
Well, we might still have a car, but I mean, he still had a horse.
Yeah, that's right.
You still got to get places,
Hmm.
but it's interesting when you start to think of, well, I mean, Jesus says, yeah, you should go ahead and give your tithes and stuff, but you're missing the more weighty things, the weightier matters of compassion and justice, and you're missing out on that.
And I don't know, I was trying to think of this and I could not remember the words, but it was very, very similar to the thing that you gave us last Sunday. But give all you can, save all you can, share all you can. There's like three.
Earn all you can, save all you can, and give all you can.
Okay, those were three things I was trying to think of. Yeah, that's very
Hmm.
important.
Hmm. And so, yeah, it's in a Wesleyan understanding of theology, a tithe isn't even
Hmm.
enough, which is like, it makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable
Hmm.
about how much God is asking of us, and then we remember
Well,
that.
God gave his life for us.
Then we remember that,
Yes.
right? It's fascinating. Um, how do you think our church could be more generous?
Well, right now, and like I said, through the community engagement team, I know that we're going outside the church. And I haven't been to, I didn't go to the last town hall meeting to know exactly what our church is doing. I know we do the mission trips. So I really am not in the loop right now on all that our church is doing. I'm sure there's always more that we can do through the food distribution. I know in years past when we've done the Living Christmas Tree, 10% of the intake of that went to a community service at Christmas time. I'm not here at Christmas, but they took gifts. 10% of that money they went out and bought gifts, took it to the people working in the hospital, people working in the police department, people working in the fire department that weren't home at Christmas time. So there's, I'm sure, a lot of things going on in our church that we may not even be aware of.
Mm.
Through the prayer shawl ministry, that's another one that I'm sure goes out of our church for somebody who has a need that needs a prayer shawl. They will deliver that to them. So there's a lot of things going on.
Has there ever been a time where you felt like God transformed your life through giving?
Again, since I've always been doing it, I can't think of anything in
Hmm.
particular.
So
Guess
how do you celebrate um, your giving? I mean, I think for me and Katie at the end of the year, sometimes we get our giving statement. I'm like, holy cow, how did we do that?
mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And so we get our giving statement, and I feel really proud about myself. And then I take it to my tax guy, and he says, "Carl, you need to give about 19,000 more dollars in order for that to even matter this year."
Oh, wow.
Because of how taxes work these days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He says, we're just going to give you the standard deduction. I say, well, I guess I got a long way to go in generosity, but I feel pretty good when I'm able to see how much we were able to give.
Yes.
Um, and I'm able to celebrate what God's been able to do, not to hold it over other people and say I'm better, but
Mm-hmm.
to be excited about what I've been a part of. How are you able to be joyful about your giving?
Well, I guess I am thankful that I am able to give. Um, Now that I've had this discussion with you, it makes me want to think of, giving more than whatever the percent, I think I do it on a percentage of how much I increase every year. So maybe to give more in that aspect. Um, I know that it benefits so many people. And I don't know that I have a celebration, but I'm just thankful that I am able to give and
Mhm.
not have a financial burden and being able to give.
Yeah. Thanksgiving's important, and being able to
Yes.
say thank you to God,
Mm-hmm.
which is fascinating because we're able to give, we're thankful,
Yes.
which is
Very true.
just so great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why would you tell somebody? Why would you encourage somebody else to try to give more of their time, their talents, their gifts, their service, or their witness?
Well, it's just a blessing. You don't know whose lives you're touching. It's just, I just like to help people.
Hmm.
I just went, I lived in Front Royal before I moved over here, and I went over and supported their bazaar last weekend. So it's just good to, and just the friendships that you make through helping. That's important because lifelong friendships. When I first came here, I didn't know a single person in Warrenton. And I didn't join the choir, just came to church on Sunday morning, didn't go to Sunday school or anything. 22, going on 23 years later, in the choir, in Sunday school, helping, serving. So it's just a way to grow your life and make friends, lifelong friends.
Great. Do you have any last words? You get the last word.
Oh, I get the last word. Nope, I love going to church here. Pastor
You're
Tim,
good.
Pastor Tim, known his family, for years. And, some people, I was talking to somebody recently, they said when they first came to church, it was very unfriendly. I don't see that because, and I've been greeters, help with communion, serve, when and where I can. And I just think it's a friendly church maybe because I know so many people, but I try to introduce myself to people that I haven't met when we have the greeting time on Sunday mornings. And one time I spoke to somebody who says, well, you just gave me a hug last week. And I go, I did? I don't know, maybe I just felt in the hugging mood that day. And so it's just the lifelong friends that you meet.
Great. Well, thank you. You did great. You were all nervous, but you did
I
wonderfully.
was very nervous. I'm still very nervous.
There's no need to be nervous. You crushed it
I know.
out of the park. And we're going to...
Please tell me
Yes,
it worked.
perfect.
Please tell me it worked.
I'm going to make sure it worked real quick. Well, I know it worked on there anyway.